Hi viewers, welcome to Akshya Vlogs and Crafts. Today, let's read chapter 5, Shri Sai Satcharitra. Baba's return with Chand Patil marriage party, welcomed and addressed as Sai. Contact with other saints is attire and daily routine. The story of the Padukas, wrestling both with Mohidin and change in life, turning water into oil. The Pasudha Guru Jawhar Ali returned with Chand Patil's marriage party. As hinted in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba returned to Shridi after his disappearance. There lived in the Aurangabad district, Nizam state, in a village called Dhoop, a well-to-do Mohammedan gentleman by the name Chand Patil. While he was making a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his man. For 2 long months he made a diligent search, but could not get no trace of the lost man. After being disappointed, he returned from Aurangabad with the saddle on his back. After travelling for course and a half, he came on the way to a mango tree at the foot of which sat a fakir. Queer fellow. He had a cap on his head, wore kafni, long robe, and had a sakka, short stick, under his arm, and he was preparing to smoke a chilling, a pipe. On seeing Chand Patil pass by, he called out to him and asked him to have a smoke and to rest a little. The queer fellow or fakir asked him about the sandal. Chand Patil replied that it was of his mare, which was lost some time back. The fakir asked him to make a search in the nala close by. He went, and the wonder of wonders, he found the mare there. He thought that this fakir was not an ordinary man, but an avalia, a great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chilling was ready for being smoked, but two things were wanting. First, fire to light the pipe, and second, water to wet the chapi, piece of cloth, through which smoke is drawn up. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcibly into the ground, and out came a live ember, which he put on the pipe. Then he dashed the sakka on the ground, from where water began to ooze. The chapti the chapi was wetted with the water, then wrung out and wrapped around the pipe. Thus, everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chili and then gave it also to Chand Patil. On seeing all this, Chand Patil was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. Next day, he went to the Patil's house and stayed there for some time. Patil was a village officer of Dhoop. His wife's brother's son was to be married, and the bride was from Shridi. So Patil made preparations to start for Shridi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage went off without any hitch. The party returned to Dhoop, except the fakir, who stayed back in Shridi and remained there forever. How the fakir got the name Sai. When the marriage party came to Shridi, it alighted at the foot of the banyan tree in Bhagat Masapadi field near Khandoba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open country yard of the Khandoba's temple, and the members of the party descended one by one, and the fakir also got down. Bhagat Bhagasapati saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him, Ya Sai, welcome Sai. Others also addressed him as Sai, and henceforth he became Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in a deserted masjid. One saint named Devi Das had been living in Shridi for many years before Baba came there. Baba liked his company. He stayed with him in the Maruti temple in the Chavadi and for some time lived alone. Then came another saint by the name Janki Das. Baba spent most of his time in talking with him, or Jankidas went to Baba's residence. So also one Vaishya householder saint from Putambe by the name Gangagir always frequented Shridi. When he first saw Sai Baba carrying pitchers of water in both hands for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shri that it got this precious jewel. This man is carrying water today, but he is not an ordinary fellow. As this land, Shri was fortunate and meritorious, it secured this jewel. So also one famous saint by the name Anandat of Yevala Math, a disciple of Akalkot Maharaj, came to Shirdi with some people. When he saw Sai Baba, he said openly, "This is a precious diamond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not a god, ordinary stone, but a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this, he returned to Yevala. This was said while Sai Baba was a youngster. Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Sai Baba grew the hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, 3 miles from Shirdi, he brought with him small plants of marigold, jai and jui, and after cleaning them, he planted and watered them. A devotee by name Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 unbaked earthen pitchers. With these, Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulders. In the evening, the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed there, they broke, as they were made of mud and not baked. Next day, Tatya supplied 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years, and with Sai Baba's toil and effort, there grew a garden. On this site, at present, stands the big mansion, Samadhi Mandir of Baba, which is now frequented by so many devotees. The story of Padukas, footprints under the neem tree. A devotee of Akalkot Maharaj by the name Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bakkar worshipped the photo of Akalkot Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akalkot, Solapur district, take the darshan of the Padukas, footprints of the Maharaj, and offer his sincere prayer there. But before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akalkot Maharaj prepared in his vision and said, Akalkot Maharaj appeared in his vision and said to him, "Now Shirdi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Bhai changed his plan and came to Shirdi, worshipped Baba, stayed there for 6 months and was happy. As a reminiscence of this vision, etc., he prepared the Padukas and installed them on the auspicious day of Sharvan Shaka, 1834, 1912 AD, under the neem tree with due ceremonies and formalities, conducted by Dada Kelkar and Upasani. One Dixit Brahmin was appointed for worship, and the management was entrusted to devotee Sagun. Complete version of this story. Mr. B.V. Dev, retired Mamlatdar of Thana and a great devotee of Sai Baba, made inquiries about this matter with Sagun Meru Naik and Govind Kamalakar Dixit, and had published a full version of the Padukas in Sai Leela, volume 11, number 1, page 25. It runs as follows. In 1834 Shaka, 1912 AD, one Dr. Ramrao Kotare of Mumbai came to Shirdi for Baba's darshan. His compounder and his friend Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bakar accompanied him. The compounder and Bhai became intimate with Sagun Meru Naik and G.K. Dixit. While discussing things, these persons thought that there must be some memorial of Sai Baba's first advent at Shirdi and his sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's Padukas there and were going to make them of some rough stone. Then Bhai's friend, the compounder, suggested that if this matter was made known to his master, Dr. Ramrao Kotare, he would prepare nice Padukas for this purpose. All liked this proposal, and Dr. Kotare was informed of it. He came to Shirdi and drew a plan of the Padukas. He went to Upasani Maharaj of Kandoba's temple and showed him his plan. The latter made many improvements, drew lotus flowers, conch, disc, maize, etc., and suggested that the following sloka verse regarding Neem's tree greatness and Baba's yogic powers be inscribed. The verse was as follows: Sada Nimbhavrikshaya Muladi Vasa Sudashchavinam Tiktrapriyam Tam Tarum Kalpravishakridam Satyatyam Namamisham Satgurum Sainadam. Opachini's suggestions was accepted and carried out. The Padakas were made in Mumbai and sent to Shridi with the compounder. Baba said that they should be installed on the Purnima, 15th of Shawwal. On that day at 11 a.m., G.K. Dixit brought them on his head from Kandoba's temple to the Dwarka Masjid in a procession. Baba touched the Padakas, saying that these are the feet of the Lord, and asked the people to install them at the foot of the neem tree. A day earlier, one Parsi devotee of Mumbai named Pashtarchet sent rupees 25 by money order. Baba gave this sum for the installation of the Padakas. The total expense of installation came up to rupees 100, out of which rupees 75 were collected by subscriptions. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dixit worshipped the Padakas daily, and then this was done by Lakshman Kaishwar Jarkhadi. In the first 5 years, Dr. Kotare sent rupees 2 per month for lighting of the lamp, and he also sent the railing round the Padakas. The expense of bringing the railings from the station to Shridi is rupees 7 to 8. Presently rupees 750. The roofing was paid by Sagun Meru Naik. Now, Jakhadi, Nana Pujari, does the worship, and Sagun Meru Naik offers the Naivedya and lights the evening lamps. Bhai Krishnaji was originally a devotee of Agalkot, Maharashtra. He had come to Shridi at the installation of the Padakas in Shaka 1834. On his way to Agalkot, he wanted to go to Agalkot after taking the darshan of Baba. He asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Agalkot? Why do you go there? The Maharaj of that place is here, myself." Hearing this, Bhai did not go to Agalkot. He came to Shridi off and on after the installation of the Padakas. Mr. B.V. Dev concluded that Hemapant did not know these details. Had he known them, he would have not failed to depict them in his Shri Sai Satcharitra, wrestling bout with Mohideen Tamboli and change in lifestyle. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shridi by the name Mohideen Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some points and both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Henceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donned kafni, wore a langot, waistband, covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his bed and was content with wearing torn and worn out rags. He always said that poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The Lord is always brother, befriender of the poor. Gangagir was also very fond of wrestling. Once while he was wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion descended over him, and at the proper time he heard the voice of an adept saying that he should wear out his body, playing with God. So he too gave up sansara and turned towards God realization. He established a mat on the banks of the river near Putambe and lived there with his disciples. Sai Baba did not mix and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day, he was always sat under the neem tree. Sometimes in the shade of a babul tree near the stream on the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at random and go at times to Nimagun. There, he frequented the house of Bala Saheb, Dengal. Baba loved Mr. Bala Saheb. His younger brother named Nana Saheb had no son. Though he married a second wife, Bala Saheb sent Nana Saheb for taking darshan of Sai Baba, and after some time, with his grace, Nana Saheb got his son. From that time onwards, people began to come in large numbers to see Sai Baba. and his fame began to spread and reached Ahmednagar from hence. Nana Sahib Chandrakar and Keshav Chidambar and many others began to come to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during day and slept at night in an old dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at this time consisted of chilim, tobacco, a tambrel, tin pot, long kafni, a piece of cloth round his neck, round his head, and a satka, short stick, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on the head was twisted like matted hair and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes, no sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for the most of the day. He wore a cowpin, waistcloth band, and for warding off cold, he always sat in front of a duni, sacred fire, facing south, with his left hand resting on the wooden railing. In that duni, he offered an oblation of egoism, desires, and always uttered, Allah Malik, God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2-room dimensions, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Before Baba came to live in this masjid, he lived for a long time in a place, Takia, where with gunguru, small bells tied on his ankles, Baba danced beautifully and sang with tender love, turning water into oil. Sai Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from shopkeepers and keep lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The banyas, shopkeepers who supplied oil gratis, once met together and decided not to give him oil. When, as usual, Baba went to ask for oil, they all gave him a distinct no. Unperturbed, Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks in the lamps. The banyas were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tamrel tin pot, which contained very little, a few drops of oil, put water into it and drank it, and then forced it out to fall into the container. After concentrating the tin pot in this way, he again took the water from the tin pot and filled all the lamps with it and lighted them. To the surprise and dismay of the watching banyas, the lamp began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The banyas repented and apologized, and Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in future. The President Guru Jawahar Ali. 5 years after wrestling about above mentioned, one fakir from Ahmednagar by the name Jawahar Ali came to Rahata with his disciples and stayed in Bakal, spacious room near Vibhadra temple. The fakir was learned, could repeat the whole Quran and had a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. With the help of the people, he started to build an Iga, a walled enclosure in which Mohammedans pray on Eid day, near the Vibrata temple. There was some quarrel about this affair, on account of which Jafar Ali had to leave Rahata. Then he came to Shirdi and lived in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk and he began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object and consented to his Chela disciple. Then both Guru and Chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. The Guru teacher never knew his disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the shortcomings of the Guru. Still, he never disrespected him, observing carefully his duties. He even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shirdi off and on, but their main stay was in Rahata. The loving devotees of Baba in Shirdi did not like that Baba should stay away from them in Rahata, so they went in a deputation to bring Baba back to Shirdi. When they met Baba near the Idgah and told the purpose for which they came, Baba said to them that the fakir was an angry, ill-tempered fellow. He would not leave him and that they should better go back to Shirdi without him and before the fakir returned. While they were thus talking, the fakir turned up and was very angry with them for trying to take away his disciple. There was some hot discussion and altercation, and it was finally decided that both the Guru and Chela should return to Shirdi, and so they returned and lived in Shirdi. But after a few days, the Guru was tested by Devidas and he was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shirdi with the marriage party, this Devidas, aged about 10 or 11 years, came to Shirdi and lived in the Mandir temple. Devidas had fine features and brilliant eyes, and he was with this passion incarnate and the Dhyani learned. Many people, namely Tatya Koth, Kasinath, and others, regarded him as their guru. They brought Jawahar Ali in his presence, and in the discussion that followed, Jawahar was worsted and fled from Shirdi. He went and stayed in Bijapur and returned after many years to Shirdi and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was Guru and Sai Baba his chela was cleared away, and as he repented, Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed by his conduct how one should get rid of egoism and do the duties of a disciple to attain the highest end with self-realization. This story is told here according to the version given by Mahasapati, a great devotee of Baba. In the next chapter, Ram Navami's festival, the masjid, its former condition and later improvement in its etc. will be described. Bow to Shri Sai. Peace be to all.